football, the red zone is where a team has to make small adjustments to ensure victory. As you approach retirement, you also need to make small adjustments to ensure success. This is the Red Zone Retirement Program with registered investment advisor and enrolled agent John Mears of Mears Money Management.
Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. It's Red Zone Retirement Program, Simple Investing, Smart Future with John Mears and myself here to get a little rock and roll in this episode. Sort of. We're going to do, if you're over 50, which most of our audience is, you are familiar with what a mixtape is. And the younger generation probably does not know. So we're going to do a little retirement planning mixtape for you. We got 3 volumes. I feel like I should do, John, one of those Time Life things. Welcome to the Time Life thing, the 3-volume cassette of the rock and roll mixtape for retirement. But that's what we're going to do. Have some fun.
My Maxell cassette tape out here too to be ready for this. Yeah.
Do you have a pencil in case the tape jams so that we can put the pencil in and fix it?
Yes, and make sure that that's why I buy the car, because it actually has the cassette player in it. Not I'm old enough to remember cars that didn't have the cassette players.
Oh yeah,
we did have the 8-track.
8-track. That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Hey, don't knock it. Don't knock it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you know that they used to put? There was a limited time, very limited, but I've seen images and stuff of it. There was a record player in cars. There was a few years where they tried putting it. It didn't last. Google it. There's
a full album or 45s. What would
I think it was a 45. There's a few cars that they put it out. They tried it out. I don't know if it was completely concept or it made it production or limited production or what, but I've seen it. And it was like, could you imagine, like every time you hit a bump, right? It would skip. That was wild. It's like, well, that probably didn't, there's a good reason why that didn't stick around.
How many times we're going to hear What's New Pussycat over and over and over, right? Yeah.
Whoa. Exactly.
And hop right back to it.
Well, now that we've gone down that rabbit hole, folks, welcome into the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with John and I. We're going to have some fun with this. So basically, John, I got a mixtape for you here. I'm going to give you, kind of the premise, and we're going to go with a song and maybe like a notable lyric to kind of tie to it. And then you get to spin a financial lesson from it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That sounds
volume
great.
Volume 1, songs that remind you of consistency or patience. Right. Mm-hmm. So in order to do that conversation, we're going to go with AC/DC.
Perfect.
Yeah.
AC/DC is the band that fits everything, in my opinion. So
it really kind of does if you break it down, right? So in this situation, we're going to go with "It's a Long Way to the Top" if you want to rock and roll, right? And that's the notable lyric to go with, right? I tell you, folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And isn't that like the patience of getting to retirement and like building a retirement strategy?
Yes, I think the guys in the band kind of understood the hard work it took to get them to the top is kind of what we go through when we're trying to work towards retirement. It isn't easy, and it usually takes a lot of years playing in the clubs, so to speak, and working our way through things. And
if you're watching us on video, you can see all the guitar stuff behind me. Right?
Exactly. So, and that's the way it goes with us when we're trying to save. Saving does not take 2 or 3 years. It takes, for most of us, a lifetime. If we haven't started early, we have to catch up late, but we have to do a lot of work to try and get to the top. And again, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. So it is something that I've always liked. AC/DC. I joke with all my friends that I am a classic rock guy, and AC/DC fits anything, whether we're talking about football, right, whether you're at the mall, whether you're on your way to the beach, whatever it is. For all us old folks over 50, that is something that we all enjoy. And again, I love that song. And it kind of does remind me of the grind we go through to get people to retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so if you're thinking about like that, patience factor and the consistency factor, John, I think that's the key too, right? So like even in football, right? Sometimes consistency, right? I know football season's over now for you guys, but when you're thinking about, teaching these guys how to improve year over year or during the season, it's coach, why we gotta go up downs again for the 57th time? Well, consistency, right? Whatever the case might be.
Yeah, we do a lot of repetition in the sport of football. And the reason why we do that in football, and it's amazing. When a kid misses a week of practice, they don't think they miss anything. They come back and it's amazing how off their timing is. And as you move up the food chain in the athletic world, each minute detail, it matters as far as how your hands are, your feet are, whatever it might be. And it's shocking to kids why we have to completely be repetitive. And I imagine it's the same in the music world where you don't just pick up the guitar one day and all of a sudden you got it.
You got to practice
guitar every day.
You got to practice your scales. You got to practice your timing, right? And so, and consistency is truly the key. Like in retirement plan, even in growing, if you're talking about the accumulation side, John, like people go, well, the market's been bad, so maybe I should back off on how much I'm pumping into my retirement account. No, that's probably the wrong advice, right? Keep putting it in there because you're dollar cost averaging, right? Mm-hmm. And it's also the consistency factor.
Yeah, definitely. I think staying the course, keep doing what you're doing, and taking advantage, and the grind of going through the opportunities, and you don't know the opportunities are there until after it happens.
Sure, right.
You and I were talking before the podcast off air about the Kelsey twins, and we look at Travis Kelsey. Right now, he is everywhere, and I can tell you he's probably got a good agent. But having had a daughter who was kind of in that modeling world, you got to say yes to everything. You don't know which thing is going to be the thing that's going to catapult
that's going to propel you.
And so you have
dating Taylor Swift doesn't hurt, but
that doesn't hurt. But he was also, he had been filming all of these commercials before he had met her. And it's kind of like a band where you're going to be playing it again at all the clubs. And when we're investing, we don't know when the right time is to get in and out of the market. We have to say yes to putting money in over and over and over again.
Great point.
You said, dollar cost averaging. We just got to keep saying yes to savings, not knowing that sometimes the market's going to go down, but most of the time the market's going to be up. And if you keep saying yes to these opportunities, good things will happen to you in the long run.
There you go. So what's some other songs you might find on this volume 1 of the Patience and Staying the Course mixtape here? So I would say you got to go with maybe the all-time karaoke song. I think it's actually the all-time single as well. I think it's hit the crazy numbers, which is Don't Stop Believing from Journey, right?
Absolutely. It's one that we all know. All of us know the lyrics of the song.
Right. Yes. And if you're thinking about, getting to retirement, you can't stop believing that you're going to be okay, but you also need to know you're going to be okay. So you got to get a strategy, right?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I think Steve Perry had this figured out a long time ago maybe he should have been a registered investment advisor. I don't know.
Maybe.
But it is something that believing in what you're doing, believing in your process is important. And so, yeah, it's really important that you don't stop believing. And that's when things can get rough, like we had in 2022.
Sure.
You have to kind of stay the course. So I hope the Steve Perry lyrics were going through your head in 2022 when we're kind of going through a very volatile market.
And if you do it right, then you can finish off that volume by listening to the Eagles, and then you can take it easy.
Yes, I
is that cheesy enough? Is that cheesy enough?
Yes, I would say with the Eagles, I actually wrote down the lyrics to them here. It's like, lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. That is kind of the thing that we're looking for here. Don't try and overthink this. You don't have to understand everything that you're doing in the investment world. Just know what you're doing. The basics of what you're doing are right, and then take it easy. It's okay. We don't have to overthink this. We don't have to get overly worried about things. And that's, again, why you have an advisor in your life.
Exactly. All right. So that was volume 1, right? So you could kind of look at that as the accumulation phase leading up to getting to retirement, if you will, right? So let's go to volume 2 of our Time Life mixtape. I don't even know. Does Time Life still exist anymore? I don't know if that is or not. I guess they probably do.
So anyway. They have to. I don't usually watch TV at 3 o'clock.
Do you remember all those commercials though?
Yes.
Right? 40 CDs of the greatest love songs of all time or whatever,
Yes.
Good stuff. Anyway, so let's go to volume 2 here. So you gotta have vision. You gotta dream a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So let's make volume 2 about getting to the retirement doorstep and maybe even a little bit before you get there. But what do you want it to look like, right? So that's half the fun, John, is dreaming. And if we're going to talk about dreaming as the theme, well, we might as well go with John Lennon here, right? We might as well go with Imagine and say, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, right?
Absolutely.
So that's got to be the fun, though. Like, you've got to enjoy that. And so what are some things to think about in that dreaming process, and how important is it?
You do need to imagine. And that's one thing that humans are good at that other species can't do. And that is imagining and projecting out into the future. And so that is part of what I always tell people as a football coach. I actually do kind of get a mental picture where I think the team is supposed to be at the end of the year. I think that's what we should be doing in investing and in retirement planning. We should get this vision of where we're going to be at in 20 years. What is that ideal scenario? And it's okay to imagine. It's okay to kind of think about things and maybe even go beyond what your everyday imagination may be. Because I think that's what John Lennon was speaking about.
Like the big dreams, but also the smaller dreams, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's when John Lennon was doing this, obviously right after the 60s, the volatile 60s. But he was trying to really project his big dreams on, out there. And I think that this is an opportunity when we're doing planning to think big as far as dreams. And big doesn't mean a mansion. It means maybe having the house that is near the hiking area that you like to hike at, or where you're going to be at a place near the kids, or maybe near your favorite baseball or football team. Who knows? It could be any one of those things.
Well, it's setting attainable goals too, right? Like every retirement's not going to be, the commercial where you're on a $500 million yacht every day for most of us, right? But so it's about finding that, that attainable level of what does retirement look like to you, and what do you want it to look like, right? Because John, what you might want for your retirement is completely different than what I want for mine. So our dreams are not going to align. We can have a beer, we can have a good conversation, we can enjoy football games. There's things where we have commonalities, but you may want to be, go, and I maybe want to sit at home, or vice versa, right? So what does your dream look like, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And didn't John Lennon also write Dream Number 9? So I think he has another song, the whole thing like this. So
I guess, but we don't want to overload this tape, the second tape, with too many Lennon songs. So what's some other good Dream songs we could put in there? Got to go Aerosmith, man.
Yeah,
Dream On.
Dream On has to be the classic one. That was when I was in junior high. So that's when, or high school, forget, but it was so far back. I can't always remember the details, but everybody knows Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler doing, the scream at the end as he's yelling "Dream On." We've all done it as we're sitting in the car at a red light when nobody's looking.
Let it rip. Right? Exactly.
Absolutely. But that's absolutely a great one.
If you want to throw a little something to expand your palette, not just rock and roll, we could go with Ella Fitzgerald, "Dream a Little Dream." Right.
Yes.
That's a classic.
It is. It's a very soothing song. And that is something, again, as we're looking at dreaming, that is something that you want to have, knowing that your dreams can put you in that comfort zone. And I think that's what Ella does with her song here. So,
and don't forget to make this a couple's dream too, right? So like you guys got to talk to each other, right? So, because your spouse may have some different visions of retirement than what you do, and you guys have got to find that, middle ground on that, right? So, maybe you want to play golf all the time and the other person's not all that interested in that, right? So where's that middle ground, right? So you got to have that vision for retirement that works well for both of you. So I think it works pretty good for volume 2.
Yes. Yeah. And those are great points, Mark. And I tell people that all the time. I have a small side business, apparently, that I'm a marriage counselor as well as being a financial advisor.
Right.
But I do tell people there are times, hey guys, you got to get this ironed out between the two of you, because sometimes the imagination is not compatible. And we want to make sure it is compatible. And there is a little bit of give and take on that with couples, but it's a great point to me.
What else do you need in retirement when you're thinking about this from this kind of standpoint? We're not spending so much time on X's and O's. We're kind of thinking about this a little more philosophically, because, hey, when you want to get philosophical, rock and roll is where you go, right? And it actually really can be. So, but I think you got to, we're just talking about the spouse, right? So if you're married, what have you guys done most of your life? You've leaned on each other at different times, right? You've had someone to turn to in your corner. So when you're thinking about the process of retirement planning, you got to be on the same page with each other, but you also need that financial professional helping you, so that the three of you are kind of, working together to kind of get those dreams, to make them happen, right? To kind of make everything go. And so we're going to go with "Lean on Me" from Bill Withers. I mean, come on. We all need somebody to lean on.
Bill Withers, who has about the best jazz voice there is out there. Yeah.
So good. So
absolutely.
Smooth. Yeah.
Yes. And that's a classic song, "Lean on Me when you're not strong." I mean, this is really what the role is of an advisor and also, again, a spouse, like you said.
Sure.
You don't have to go this alone. And so if there's ever a time when things are kind of getting iffy for you, and this happens to all of us, we are human. I know as an advisor, most of the time when the market's getting jittery and clients call up, all they want to hear is my voice. That's all they want to hear.
John, talk me off the ledge, man.
I'm not going through the beta coefficient of the bond fund. I'm not telling them this or that. All I'm telling them is it's going to be okay. We accounted for this when we did the plan. This is all part of what we knew this was going to happen. It's not a shock or a surprise. And we're going to be okay. And people just want to hear that a lot of times. Yeah. I don't have a good Bill Withers voice to say that in. I wish I did, or even better, maybe Lou Rawls. But I should start talking like
Barry White.
Oh, yes.
Well,
that's my failure as an advisor.
There you go. So professional guidance certainly can come into play. Obviously, the couples conversation, and also don't forget in this area too, estate planning, right? So like your kids or whatever the case might be, like having those things set up, John, ahead of time, so that they have something to lean, I guess, on, in that analogy, when we pass. I mean, God willing, we won't. My wife always says that she's like, I'm not allowed to leave before her, so we're going to both go at the same time. And in some ways, that's got a sweet sentiment, but it would be tough on our daughter, right? So, but either way, like, don't forget about the estate side of things.
Yeah, the estate planning is so important, and that's where I think really the big part of Lean On Me comes from. It is something that I'm going to segue into this, and I'm just going to jump right to it, is Michael Jackson, I'll Be There. That's something that you just have to know that when we're doing our estate planning, even if you're not there physically, you're there through planning and preparation. You also want to make sure that, again, the kids are there. If one of the spouse dies, we are counting on the kids too, to lean on, and knowing that they'll be there. And again, as an advisor, just know that when things are difficult, again, I'll be there. I'll be around.
There you go. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna jump out of this analogy, but I think that's 3 volumes of fantastic music on the mixtape for retirement conversation. So what would you have on your mixtape, right? What would you enjoy? Throw us a comment or something in the comment section, and some other songs that you might add to the mixtape. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So
that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. So give us some suggestions here, see what you do. And as a matter of fact, if you need some help with stuff, there's a great way to get started. So check this out. John's got a couple of books. John has a couple of free books, Diffuse and Tax-Free Retirement in California, that reveal exactly how you can experience zero taxes in retirement and overcome the IRS lien on your 401k, IRA, and 403b, which could threaten your future lifestyle. These are complimentary, so all you have to do to pick these up 100% free is just stop by rescuemyretirement.net. That's rescuemyretirement.net. Fill in the basic info and he'll ship those out to you immediately. That's rescuemyretirement.net for a copy of Diffuse and Tax-Free Retirement in California. So, as always, Coach, we like to do the 2-minute warning. We like to do the email questions or whatever we happen to use. We've been using email questions right now for this, but something quick that we can find that kind of finish up the podcast with, help some folks out that send things into your website. And as always, I want to not forget to remind folks. I know we just had that pop up there for the books, but if you guys want to get on John's calendar, don't forget you can go to bookachatwithjohn.net. That's bookachatwithjohn.net. That's a great way to get on his calendar. Or if you want to just check out some more tools, tips, and resources, go by mearsmoney.com and drop a line as well. So Harriet, let's see, where was Harriet at? Harriet was in the Northridge area. And Harriet says, John, I'm closing on a new house in a few weeks and I need cash for the closing, and I need cash now. What was that, J.G. Wentworth? Yes. But my current home isn't going to sell in time, so I won't have any money yet from that. So I don't want to take a big withdrawal from the IRA to pay the taxes. So should I consider a short-term loan to help me on the cash for closing conversation? What do you think, John?
Well, there's a couple things you can do. You actually can borrow from your IRA. If she has money from her IRA, you have 60 days to actually take money out of your IRA and roll it back into your IRA. You can take it, put it right back in the same IRA you took it out
and
of.
not have a taxable event.
And not have it be taxable. So you are allowed to do that. So you can, quote unquote, borrow from your IRA. You take a withdrawal, and then you have to replace that within 60 days. Now, the thing is, you've got to be very careful about that. If you go to day 61, you are too late. So there is risk involved in this, and you have to be very careful about this and know that if you get past that 61st day, you are going to owe tax and possibly penalties if that's what the case is. But I have done this many, many times for clients in the past. There are certainly some other rules that need to be involved here. So seek a professional before doing this. Don't just do this on your own. But I have navigated many people through this. Take the withdrawal, and you're saying in this letter it's a few weeks. Once you have the closing money, you can go right back and replenish that IRA account. And you don't have to do all of it. Let's just say you took out $50,000, and for whatever reason you were only able to put back $30,000. That still saves you a chunk in taxes, even if you end up with some sort of a taxable event at the end. But again, consult a professional, talk to a tax professional, a financial advisor, also probably both, to make sure you're doing this correctly.
Right.
And
yeah, that's a great. That is true. You are both. That's a great point, though, right? Because probably taking a loan right now, the rates are going to be a little higher since the interest rates are what they are. So that's a good tip to know for sure for folks. So there you go. That's the 2-minute warning. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks. As always, we'll wrap up the podcast here. We try to keep these at right around 20 minutes. But as always, if you need some help, don't forget, just reach out to John, get on his calendar, pick up a couple copies of the books that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. Again, if you want to stop by and pick that up, it's rescuemyretirement.net, or just go to bookachatwithjohn.net to get started. But reach out, do something for yourself in your retirement, but always talk with a qualified professional before you take any action. As John said, he's an enrolled agent. He's got 25 years of experience. He specializes in tax planning strategies. He is a fiduciary. I mean, he's got it going on, right? So make sure you reach out to him.
I'm not as cool as Mick Jagger, but I'm close.
Well, who is, right? I mean, the dude's 80 something, right? And he's still performing. Freaking awesome, right?
Yes.
So, you gotta love it. Hey, I saw an interesting, we'll go with this rock and roll final theme. I saw an interesting theme that said, looking at some of our elderly leaders right now and how bad they are on camera, looking at some of these folks over 80 in the halls of our government, and how they look and act and move and sound versus Mick Jagger being 80. And it says, maybe there was something to the rock and roll lifestyle after all. Maybe sex, drugs, and rock and roll wasn't all that bad.
Maybe Keith Richards for Secretary of State. I don't know.
Well, he's going to be president about 6 presidents from now, because he's still going to be around.
He will be.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, have a great one. Thanks for hanging out, John. I always appreciate you, buddy. Yes. Catch us next time here on Red Zone Retirement Program. Subscribe to us on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the YouTube platforms. I guess the Google platforms are all merging onto YouTube, so you can find us in video form as well as audio form. And we will see you later on Red Zone Retirement Program, Simple Investing, Smart Future with John Mears.
Advisory services offered through Mears Money Management, Inc., an RIA registered in the states of California and Texas. California Department of Insurance License number 0685203.